Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and today our guests are Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken. Okay, you're here. And also Professor Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken.
See you. Okay, so let's go into this wonderful Swiss tournament that we are witnessing, and which is going to end in a day or two. And it's very, very unpredictable. It's only two top places are going right into the candidate tournament. So let's look at a couple of games.
And I'm going to begin with the women's section where there was a mega clash on top board. So let me present my screen again. And so let's say I'm going to do the entire screen and brave because I have a bunch of tabs that I'm opening up. But tell me when you see the start position.
Yes.
It's good.
Yes. Okay, right. So before today's round, it looked like Vaishali Rameshbabu was going to run away with the tournament. She was on 6 from 7. And Asabayeva, one of her closest chasers, was a full point behind. They were paired, but Asabayeva beat Vaishali in a power display of positional chess. Well, really one mistake in a delicate position that Vaishali made, but the import is how you get into the delicate position. So this is Bogo Indian defense. So I'm sure a lot of this is known openings, and white captures with the knight on f3 because this is actually going to increase white's influence over the center. And black is not well placed to punish with a counterattack on d4. Okay, we try. White's pawns may look like Swiss cheese, but black can't occupy squares that would take advantage here yet. Well, black castles. Now white gets 2 knights to the center. So the engine is showing a 0.56 edge for white from Stockfish 17.1. That's a fairly substantial opening edge. It's not like 0.3, which is a normal little pull. So I don't know, maybe black needs to rethink this line.
Yeah, I think that probably the knight f3 recapture probably surprised Vaishali. It looks like, I think it's, the computer loves it, but I don't think that this is a standard approach, or at least she wasn't ready for it. So that seems very clear from the relative times.
Right, that's right, yes. So, she's used, the initial increment is 6,000 seconds, so that's 100 minutes. So she's used 35 minutes off the top plus her increments. And so now black plays e5. This is a standard way to play this position, but I'm going to have a sense that black is a couple tempi down. Maybe a5 is one of those tempi from how I get these structures, other ways I play. So I plays d5. Maybe one benefit is white kind of did have to do that because black was pressuring d4. But black's knight goes back in the box. As I said, black is a couple tempi down. Somehow, I don't know, we'll see. Black would be great if black had a knight on c5 and could keep it there. We'll see in a moment why that's one reason that's true. So black is obviously trying to aim for this. But white plays b4, and this works because there's a latent pin on black's knight. And the ultimate punishment here is that black hasn't had a tempo to play the bishop even to the modest square d2. And if black goes bishop g4, which happens in the game, white is now able to buttress b4. So I said white has somehow gained a tempo over the way things evolve. b4 didn't need much preparation. So anyway, so black plays queen d7, which is fine, but bishop h3 isn't such a great threat in this position with the pawn structure. And so white plays knight e4, and this is an active move. Normally, this would seem silly for white because black would play f5 and drive the knight back. But knight can actually come in here, and for what I chalk up to tempi loss, black is not able to challenge the e6 square. So now white would have a very marked advantage. So this means black has to do something else. Well, okay. So I would say at this point that it's the funny thing is, I think white is doing well, but the engine actually shows that white's pull has diminished. I don't know. It's a case of way we think. Maybe white's knight e4 was actually not such a great idea. In fact, let me just cycle back, and I am going to pay attention to computer evaluation here. You hear white was over 0.5 if white just played for a build-up. So even though there was a point to this move that black couldn't play the normal counterattack, it was dissipating white's space advantage by exchanging pieces and wasting time. So anyway, black plays bishop h3, so this is fun. I still think black's position is more delicate than it looks. So now black finally gets in the move c6. And again, if the knight now goes to c7, that's a way in these positions that you can cover the weak e6 square in positions where you move the f pawn. Okay, so we captured. So now black captured with check. So black is caught up in tempi. White's pull is now in the minimal range. But I don't know. Black's just strikes me that white has, pawn on the exposed pawn on the c file, but it's well defended. Black's pawn on the d file will have to move, and that will set up tactics as we see in the game with black's weak e5 pawn. So black did this. It's a sensible thing to do, but white still has pressure in the center that black can't immediately match. And here is Vaishali's one fatal miscalculation. So the interesting thing here is that my first impulse in this position would be to play queen e6. Natural move, 2 diagonal squares away from white's knight, so discovery attacks won't matter as much. It defends the e pawn. So to me, this is the most natural move on the board, except that I do have to, watch for things like this. It's the b pawn might hang. Can I counterattack? And the computer, however, though, concludes that just by playing in the center, white has the sizable advantage back again. So black has to find the right tactics. So wildly enough, knight d5 works, even though it allows knight takes e5, taking the pawn for nothing. This counter hit on white's queen is apparently fine. Okay, a white queen can move a lot of places, double attacks, but black always seems to have the square to cover it. That takes a lot of calculation, especially when, coming into this position, Vaishali's clock is all the way down to 5 minutes. What she played instead seems like a natural move, attacking white's queen and taking over a center file, but it allows this tactic. And the point is that if black captures white's queen, white captures the queen not with the knight, but with the rook, and black's rook is still hanging. And white will emerge a clear pawn ahead and with a better position besides. So I don't know what she missed while running short of time, but this just conceded a clear pawn. Okay, now black's queen goes to e6, but that's too late. White is happy to trade queens, a full pawn up. And black still has instability in the center, like e4 is a latent threat now after white plays king g2. Okay, so black is trying to counterattack. I'm sure there are some clever ideas here, but you're down under a minute on your clock. And white just puts pieces in the center, covers the rook as needed, covers the knight as needed. Now black is pinned on the d file, and this will fall apart. 3-point advantage white. It did fall apart. Nice, but it's over.
Wow.
Queen, white takes with the rook.
I think that gives us an excellent example of why for more than a century the Bogo Indian never showed its face in a world championship match.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it certainly needs better preparation than we saw. I said capturing the knight f3 on d2 is good preparation. So we have a Donnybrook in the women's section as well. Okay. Ooh. Now let's see. Now I'm going to. This was an important game, but actually, Wait a second. The games I want to show first are earlier. So just bear with me. Coming from the other campus event, I didn't quite get to open all the tabs.
Mm.
So I actually want to go all the way back and feature some young players, including the one you see there, lost to Hans Niemann.
Yeah.
And so let's go all the way back to round 4 since we last met. And so I think this is so this game is being called Erdogmus's Immortal. Okay, it's maybe not deep for a chess engine, but it looks very beautiful on the chessboard. Okay, this was playing a well-known grandmaster. So Yadis Khan Erdogmus, along with Idas Gurul, are the 2 top young male players coming out of Turkey. Okay, and he is especially young. Okay, and the next game I'm going to show is we'll have an American winner over the world champion. But Erdogmus is playing black, so already we have a fairly uncompromising position. White has sacrificed the pawn and is not going for simplification in the center, but instead trying to maintain an outpost on d6. So it's a d5. So the whole question is whether black can organize counterplay apart from white's pawn on d5, block it, ignore it, or can white force d5 to be a big factor in the position? And the answer is actually yes to both, as given by this game. So Erdogmus in particular is still in prep, still has more than 100 minutes until this move, figuring out how to deploy the pieces that are constrained by white's d pawn. White castles, and this, so he deploys the knight this way. And interesting enough, white's light square bishop is not such a great feature in the position, so white is okay with letting black exchange it off. It's the white dark squared bishop that is going to have pride of place in this position, assuming square is clear enough for it. But black has 2 bishops, and they make their presence felt until white exchanges one. Now we have opposite colored bishops, and both players can be fairly happy. White has a nominal pull, but this position is really, I think, for the next few moves, going to be dominated by tactics, not strategy. Okay, so white is, fainting on the queen side, but black decides I can afford the weakness on the b file to stop it. Now white occupies the center. And this is curious. White decides not to play bishop b2, which to my mind is an obvious move, and it's sometimes the computer's preferred move. White actually has an idea that comes to fruition in the game of tactically collapsing black's queen side in return for maybe concessions on the king side. We'll see how this works. The rook comes up. Now knight d2, queried by the engine, and here comes black's attack on the king side. But now here comes white's effort. So white was building up for this discovered attack. And black can't really take this. If you take it, whether you take it with the queen, you're just giving not just not just a pawn, but the initiative on e4. So black is Erdogmus, still with more time than Mittal, has calculated that he can make a counterattack on the king side. So here you go. So g3, to my mind, it looks like black is biting on granite. So I would say this is really brave on black's part. And even though it would have been equally apt for black to play bishop f5, this next move is not one. Yeah. What do you give your impression? Yeah. What do you?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, white can't take the knight. So anyway, so now white. Yes. So white finds a way to pressure the pesky knight. This is a good move that limits black's advantage, because white's knight d2 move was a mistake, and now the d pawn can advance assisted by that bishop as well. So black very calmly jettisons the knight. Okay, white can't take it yet because because white's what am I saying? Pinned. I'm thinking of the next a later position. So king h2, now knight g4, rook e5. Okay. Now black's queen side is collapsed. There's a nice pin on black's queen, but now the knight comes into play. Again, it can't be taken because of queen g2. And this is actually, to my mind, the trickiest juncture. What's coming up in the game, because it's the ability of black's queen to filter into squares that you can't necessarily see. So it turns out that rook e3 is the only way to hold the balance for white. Okay, but it really comes down to calculating that black can't mate you. That all it comes down to is a perpetual check. So I must say this is a natural move, trying to flick off the knight, and you've won the knight. Okay, so it's very difficult to see that that actually white can't defend this position, a pawn ahead. Okay, so rook g1, and here comes the rooks now on the king side. White battens the hatches down. Now this actually let white back in the game. Okay, white could have played rook h4, but white naturally pushed the pawn, and white isn't losing in this position. Now rook h4, but the timing is not as good as it would have been last move. Queen f5, and this is now the one mistake that white makes. So what was proper here was for white to bite the bullet and trade off black's menacing bishop, sacrifice the exchange for it, and actually also, so first of all, if black takes it, then you can just go knight f3, and black can't put a piece on e1, and you've beaten off the attack. And although black can maintain the balance, this is probably in practice black loses this. So the other thing black can do is take the knight, which might be prefaced to rounding up the pawn, but then it just becomes chess. You play rook h4, and you survive because black doesn't have super threats. So that's what white should have done. So instead, white played queen b5, thinking to exclude black's queen of squares, but underestimated what's going on here. White's thinking win a rook and make a new queen, but now black wins by an amazing fashion. Okay, so rook takes d2. White's idea was to create a second queen, but now comes Erdogmus's combination.
This is beautiful.
Yes. So queen takes f2, check. Rook down, check.
This is beautiful.
Yeah. So white's, two queens ahead for a rook, but the pawns are shaped in a way that
it's just insane.
Yeah. So
I'd seen this position online, and I didn't realize it was coming until a few moves before that. That's a bolt from the blue.
Yeah. And, the game was decided dogfight. It's not like white was strategically losing or tactically losing the whole way. But, this is chess. So great idea with white had counterplay based on the pawn, just didn't execute it quite right. Okay. Now I want to go to round 5 and show Abhimanyu Mishra defeating Gukesh.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Critical game.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Gukesh is really attracting some fine chess from his opponents.
Yes, played by other people. Yeah. So, whoops. I'm sorry. Let me click on him. Wait a second. What's going on here? I'm sorry. I'm having navigation problems. If I click on him, I should see the game. Here it is. Okay, it was round 5. I don't know why the board didn't do it. Okay, so let's start. So this is another dogfight. Okay, but again, there's clear evidence of prep, but it looks like the American was fully up on the prep. So it's another Gioco Piano Tabia, but this one features an early bishop g5.
Yeah,
and the combination of this move and castling before the opponent castles is supposed to be bad, or at least that's what I was told when I played this in the 1970s. Dan, again, you can.
No, I mean it's as good as anything else. I mean, now that everything has been worked out to dynamic equality, this is just white has, I guess, fewer ways of continuing the position. So I guess it's just a little bit more restrictive in
Mhm.
options.
Okay.
I mean, this is like the old canal variation. So
Okay. I live on the old canal, but I have forgotten it, the Erie Canal.
yeah,
You're talking about a person named
I mean,
Canal.
it's equal. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with equal play if it's dynamic, right?
Yep. But the bad part is supposed to be that Black can, since Black has a castle, Black can more afford this expansion. But the engine isn't showing that it works for Black. And now Black maybe takes a few liberties with the position.
Yeah.
So Knight H7 allows this forceful counterattack in the center. Black is doubles down, attacking on the wing. Now, oh darn it! I'm sorry, I picked the wrong key. So now, very interesting juncture here. The engine says that Black should try to win a piece with H4, which again, this probably is
Seems reasonable.
It's obviously
But that's a crazy position after that.
right. It's obviously prepared by Gukesh. He hasn't used any time, but he played G4 instead after thinking for 20 minutes. And now this is tactically winning for White. Although in practice, this kind of game is again going to become a dogfight. I don't think that the engine is showing high value based on resources that are maybe impossible for humans to see. So
yeah, that pawn on C7 is just a monster.
White has sacked a piece, but the bishop is anchoring C7, and White has a bunch of pawns for the piece already. This has 3 pawns for the piece, so 4 pawns for the piece. So Black had better do something tactical as well. But instead, it looks like Black is cowering. Black's knight on H7 is disorganized. And it looks like White is the one attacking through the center, right, with a move like E5. So King D7, a very brave move, castling by hand, maybe. You couldn't castle queenside with White's pawn on C7. And, White can play computer moves. King H1, what the heck kind of move is that? But, well, it latently prepares F4 and reduces threats on the G file, so it makes sense. Now the computer changed its mind and White wants to play B4. What the heck is that for? You really going to play A4 and B5? Well, all right. Anyway,
No
Knight
idea.
D4 is a consequent move. It is said to give away most of the advantage, but it's going to take Black a long time to organize these knights, and White is just threatening to go make Black's position go splat with moves like D5.
Когда мы придем, тогда это есть.
Yeah.
Саш, доливай.
Mhm. So White captures a loose pawn. Now, White hasn't lost a pawn yet. So Gukesh has preserved, Aman Mishra has preserved all 8 of his pawns to only 3 for Black. Okay, so cute move. At least gets Black some activity, but White is able to trade queens. 5 pawns for a piece. But, well, okay,
Yeah,
one pawn is going to drop off, but White, meanwhile, is going to utilize that resource on C7.
Я поеду.
Now,
Успокойся. Успокойся. Сядь на диване.
yeah, so the engine shows this is now equal.
Я поеду сама тогда.
Еще раз подожди меня.
It's a dogfight in practice.
Иди в жопу, блядь.
So equal, but now there's just one misstep by Gukesh. The consequent way to play for Black is to reduce danger by playing Rook H8, although it does make the pawn on C7 yawn at you for a moment. However, it cuts down the defender of C7. Black can maybe work out a tactical way to gang up on C7 and win it. So Rook G6 isn't really furthering that. It is, however, though, preventing Rook F6 mate in certain positions.
Yes.
So now White here apparently wins by playing Rook C1, okay, which will tie Black's Rook down to C8, and then Rook D8. And I don't understand either. I don't understand that sequence, but putting rooks on the 7th rank is what rooks were invented.
It's hard to believe that's bad.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's bad. But White is really circling the forces here. So Black goes now and wins a pawn. So could black have repeated moves by? No, it's rook's hanging in that square.
Sérgio, escreve.
Well, actually, that's a good question. Why black's rook wasn't hanging on h6? Could he have played rook g6 here? The answer is he could have. So but he took the pawn. This again is even,
Pegou.
but now the disposition comes down to one move that Rupesh evidently didn't see, with both players down to a hard up to a minute coming for turn 40. So the brilliant move played by Mishra was to bring the bishop back to d4. And this is setting up a latent mating threat. Well, not so latent. Rook d6 mate.
Douglas.
So,
Yeah.
so this meant that black had to eliminate the pawn. But now when we count pieces, white has won a piece back in return. So white is now 2 pawns ahead in this endgame. And from here on, Mishra carries it out very nicely. Okay, after repeating moves to gain time, White's strategy is eventually to either bring up the king or in some other way take over the ambush the rook on c8. So rook h2, now g5. So the g pawn will deflect the king, will make a queen by itself. And now again we're opposing the rook. So Mishra has calculated that these pawn up positions win. Okay. So
Sérgio,
rook can now guard both pawns.
Deus, deixa tu filmar.
And now this comes forward. Black tries to make some air, but whatever counterplay black has is just too late. Okay, so white is going to play rook c2. Okay, and or actually white is going to play rook f8, and black can't prevent the g pawn from queening. So if rook g4, then rook d2 actually, not rook c2. Rook d2 is
Yes.
d8. So a well-earned win by
Não,
the previous youngest grandmaster in the world.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for today's games, and we are looking forward next week to already have the results of who are
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, if time had allowed, I was going to show Erdogmus losing to the American Hans Niemann, who can't be counted out of this tournament yet either. And he is one of the people with an established rating over.
Okay.
Over
I will have to leave. I have a doctor's appointment, so you can carry on though. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so
fine.
much.
We'll stop the show. Good luck with that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody. See you next week.
All right.
Have a
We'll
great
look
week.
forward to the finish.
Okay. Yep. We'll do.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.